This is Talking Law on Radio 97, and if you have a question for Despina, you've been perhaps thinking about a question that can have to do with masks or anything else legally, all you need to do is send us an email. It's breakfast97@superradionetwork.com.au. So that's the new email address, breakfast97@superradionetwork.com.au.
And now we are talking about, obviously, mandatory masks in non-residential indoor premises. So one story that made headlines is about Nectar Cafe in Cabarita, and they had this sign put up, so you might have seen this in the newspaper. They did have a photo of it, and it reads, "To our value customers," and it reads, "No mask, we don't ask. To our valued customers, It reads, "No mask, we don't ask. To our valued customers, the New South Wales government has made mandated mask use indoors, but please be aware, if you are not wearing one, we will assume you're exempt. No questions asked. We don't do judgments, shaming or discrimination here, so please know you will be warmly welcomed and respected however you show up." This caused a lot of drama because it does, it does kind of appear like they're just welcoming people in without asking any questions. So what's the law? Is that okay?
Yeah, I read that article and I thought, look, without being too harsh on this business owner, and it is difficult for people to navigate the waters, like I said before, I think I can see what they were trying to do. They're trying to be nice and friendly about it. But the problem with that is it's really non-compliant in a lot of ways. And as I just said before, the government's placed it on business owners that they've got to exercise their judgment now in deciding whether someone is refused entry or not for not wearing a face mask. Now, when they said there, we don't judge.
No questions asked.
Yes, well, okay, that's not really the way to go, in my view, because you could be seen to be non-compliant, and if you are, then businesses can be fined, as I said, up to $55,000, I believe, in New South Wales. So I don't think you're doing yourself any favours by putting up a sign specifically in those words. I think what you might be better off is taking some words from the government website that might help you a bit better than that, to try and get the right message across, because owners have liabilities now.
Yeah. So if you own or operate a business, you've actually come up with the perfect sign.
Have I?
Have you? Well, based on what the government suggests. Yeah.
Well, we just talked about exemptions, didn't we? And exceptions, and we talked about people not having to wear a mask if they have a lawful reason to do so within one of those categories. And then we talked about, well, some of those means that it's not quite visible, is it? If they've got a mental health condition. And the government website itself said, well, please be respectful to those people who may fall within that exemption, because it may not be so visible. So my thoughts were, yes, put a sign up. Yes, that now in New South Wales, mandatory face masks are law. And then you could, as part of your sign, say, but we understand that there are exemptions for certain people, and you may fall within that exemption, and then take the wording from the government website which says, please be respectful to people who are not wearing a mask, as the reasons for not wearing a mask are not always visible or obvious. Now, if that's taken from the government website, I think it's pretty safe for a business owner to use, rather than what that business owner tried to do, where they said, we don't shame, we don't judge, we don't do anything, we don't ask. Well, it's not really being, it's not really doing the right thing in terms of compliance, because let's get to the proof section, which is important for business owners to understand as part of their responsibilities and obligations, and how that may help them also assist with, putting up an appropriate sign. So we talked about the rules and where you have to wear a face mask in non-residential indoor areas, and then some of the exemptions. So then we said, okay, well, if you fall within that exemption, do you have to prove that? And that's one of the critical changes that happened in New South Wales. Yes, you now have to have proof of exemption for not wearing a mask.
All right, so if you've got to supply proof, how do you do that? Who do you talk to? Where do you go?
Okay, so if you can't wear a face mask because of a disability, physical or mental health, illness or condition, you now have to carry with you one of two things. So you've got to have either a medical certificate or letter signed by a registered health practitioner, such as a doctor, or a registered NDIS provider. Okay, because people who have disabilities can be part of the NDIS scheme, and they may be able to obtain that. I dare say it would take a little bit longer to obtain that through the NDIS system as opposed to going to your local GP who knows you. So that might be the better way to go. The other alternative that they've offered there is a statutory declaration, which is interesting. Yes, so if you want to take up that option of statutory declaration, you obviously have to go and see someone, because you have to, it's a declaration you have to sign under oath, and you can only do those in front of either a Justice of the Peace, Commissioner for Declarations, or a solicitor. So then you're going to have to meet with one of those people. You have to explain, why do you need a statutory declaration? Then they have to write it out, and then you have to explain your exemption, and then hopefully you can sign that. But, you know, I don't know if that would be the right way for everybody, because to do that, it might cost you a fee, right, for that service. And that may be something you don't want to do. If you go to your local GP, they bulk bill, so you may be able to do that. But yes, you need to have this proof of exemption. And when you do that, of course, you have to give your proof of identity. So it's all about, I fall within an exemption, great, okay, but you need to have proof now, and you need to carry that proof with you all the time, because if you are asked by someone, a regulatory authority, you must produce it. That is the critical thing. All right, so it's a regulatory authority, such as a police officer or someone else within that category, that can ask you, if you have a lawful excuse, yes, I have an exemption. Okay, can you please show me your medical certificate or your statutory declaration? If you don't carry that with you, you can be fined on the spot. So those are the new rules and regulations, very important for people to understand what they are and how it may apply to them now in everyday life.
Yeah, 100%. And just to confirm, that is in New South Wales, Queensland. If you go into a business or a cafe, you do not have to show proof.
Exactly. You can say, I have a reasonable lawful excuse, is the wording in Queensland, and you do not have to carry proof. So these are the two, that's the big difference between New South Wales and Queensland. Of course, if you're hopping over the border for work or other purposes, you really need to comply with New South Wales then all the time, because you may get caught out there. But they are different. And it may be that Queensland will catch up. I don't know. But at the moment, they are different. Different rules and regulations in relation to proof of exemption.
And if Queensland does catch up, you'll hear it here on Talking Law.
I will let you know 100%, yes.
Thank you so much again, Despina. So if anyone does have a question or wants to get in touch, where can they go?
Yes, so they can phone the office 55291 294, or they can jump on our website, priyalalegal.com.au. They can text my mobile 0400 141 269.
Amazing. And you can also send your questions to us here at breakfast97@superradionetwork.com.au. Thank you so much, Despina. We'll talk to you next week.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.